Are you looking to give your bathroom a dramatic makeover without breaking the bank? In this video, I'll show you how you can tile your own bathroom floor. To do this project, you need some supplies. You need a trowel that is the correct size for the tiles that you're using. My tiles were big, so I'm using a 1/2 inch. Plus, you're going to use spacers, and these ones are self-leveling spacers, which is awesome. And the tool that allows you to clamp them together, you are going to want this grout remover and, of course, your thinset. But don't worry, we'll talk about how to mix that in a minute. First, you need to set out your tiles in the layout that you want. You need to determine how you want them laid out. This is how I decided that I wanted mine laid out. And let's hurry and talk about cutting some of those weird angles. Now there's different ways to cut these, and I am using a water tile saw. And yes, this is not my floor tile, but I am showing you how to use it here. You're going to want to make sure that you have safety glasses on when you do this. So first off, you're going to cut down the area, the straight cut of where you are cutting. And you're going to do both sides of this. After you have done the straight cut to the mark spot, you're going to slightly shift your tile and start notching these areas. After they are all notched, flip it over and cut again. The reason why you flip it over is because of the way the tile saw is. It's not going to give you a straight cut line to where you're marked at. So if you cut it from the back side, you can get a straight angle at that spot. Then you're just going to break these extra pieces off, and then you're ready for the next step. This next step is a little more intense. If you don't feel comfortable with this, just use something else. They have hand pliers that can do this, but you'll move your saw so it's in upward position, and then you'll just slightly cut off these pieces with the saw blade. And then after, you are ready to install this piece into place. Now you're probably wondering, how do I determine where to mark these tiles to be able to cut them? So it is important as you're placing them down that you do use the spacers, because they need to be spaced properly according to the spacer that you are going to use. So you can see here as I'm setting these down that there are spacers already in place. But when you are ready to mark a tile piece, take your tape measure and measure the distance from the previous tiles. You should have an idea of the spacing between each tile, so you can mark the floor to determine where you need to cut the next tile. So you're going to measure it, give it the space that it needs against the wall, and then take it to your tile and mark the tile. My tiles are dark, so I did have to use a white pencil to make sure I could see these marks. And you're going to mark it in different areas. That way you can get a straight, crisp line. Then you're going to take your tile to the saw and you're going to place it into the area. Make sure that it is lined up with the saw blade for where it needs to be cut. That is my tip. Don't trust the laser if you have one like I do. It is a very good guide, but make sure you check the actual blade. And then cut your tile. After you're done cutting it, you will wipe it off so it's not wet and go put it into place to make sure it fits. And here is our bathroom pre-fitted before we put thinset down. I want to note that you do not have to do the pre-fitting. It's the way I like to do it. I find it a lot easier than running back and forth to the saw when I'm in the middle of applying the thinset. So you decide what works best for you. This is what works best for me. And we are back to the thinset and how to mix it. I am using the Schluter All Set, following the instructions and weighing it out. I like to quarter the bag or half it I don't go more than that because if you do go more than that, you have the chance of overheating your drill if you're not using a professional heavy-duty drill. So I am weighing out both the mix and the water to give me the consistency that I need, and it says this on the instructions. So you'll take your water and you'll use the paddle with your drill and you'll pour the mix into the water and start mixing for the amount of time that it says on the package. Normally, you will mix for a certain amount of time and then let it sit and then come back and mix it again. That is how most thin sets are. So that is what I'm going to do. After your thin set is all mixed according to the instructions, you're going to apply it to the floor. And again, I'm using a 1/2-inch trowel. It will depend on the size of your tile, so make sure you look that up. After you have put thin set all over, you will put thin set on the back of the tile too. This will help the tile adhere better to the floor. After, place your spacers and the tile into place. And continue this process for the whole row that you're working on. After you set your tiles, make sure that they're good and snug on, and you'll want to clean up these grout lines as well with that one tool that I was telling you about. Then you'll place your levelers, your space levelers, and use the tool to clamp them down to make everything level. And then you'll be left with this, and you can continue this process throughout the rest of your floor. After the thin set has cured, which is normally about 24 hours, you'll come back with a mallet and you'll whack the spacers to break them off at the very bottom. That is how they work, and it's super easy to do unless you have excess mortar coming or thin set coming up through the grout lines. Then you will have to take a special tool to clean this out. So here is one of those spots that I was talking about. See how the thin set came up? I didn't do a very good job at cleaning it out before it set. So what you have to take is this grout remover tool. This one's pretty awesome. I'll link to it below. And you're just going to clean out this grout line. After they're all clean, you are ready for grouting. And I have a full tutorial on grouting floor, so be sure to check that out. But here is the floor all finished and ready for the final reveal of the full bathroom.